do. Welcome to the October 22nd, 2024 City Council meeting. Please stand for the invocation by Councilmember Taylor, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me, please. Father God, my prayer is that let the meditation of our hearts and our words be acceptable in your sight this evening, Father. Let our conversation be constructive, not destructive. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's City Council agenda is divided into 4 sections: consent agenda, public hearing, public comment, and general business. The first section is the consent agenda. This section includes routine items, and all items may be approved by one vote. May I have a motion on the consent agenda? Yes.
Could we do the September 24th minutes separately because I was not here?
Sure. Okay, so may I have a motion on the consent agenda for September 24th?
So move.
Second.
Okay, can you go ahead and vote?
Councilmember Dolan?
Abstain.
Councilmember Hutchinson?
Aye.
Councilmember Mischins?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, may I have a motion on the consent agenda for approving the minutes on October 8th?
So moved.
So a second?
Second.
Okay, we go ahead and vote?
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchinson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next section is public hearings. This section includes all public hearings as required by law or as council may direct. Procedure: the staff will make a presentation. Comments will then be solicited from the public. An individual speaker shall have 3 minutes to speak. If the speaker represents a group, the speaker shall have 5 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall identify that group at the beginning of his or her remarks, and a group, while it may only have one spokesperson. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and locality of residence. Upon the conclusion of public comments, the public hearing will be closed and the matter referred to council for deliberation. Consideration of adopting a resolution granting a conditional use permit to Care Holdings LLC to allow the use of an existing structure as an auto shop at 1101 Fifth Street and associated parking at 1107 Fifth Street. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Rachel Fresheisen. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. The subject property is located at 1101 and 1107 Fifth Street, and the purpose of the CUP is to allow the use of the existing structure as an auto body shop. Planning Commission has recommended, Planning Commission has recommended approval of this petition. As you might recall, the 1101 Fifth Street parcel was proposed for rezoning earlier this year, which was ultimately denied. Our zoning ordinance allows for auto body shops upon approval of a conditional use permit from City Council, which the petitioner has decided to pursue since that rezoning was denied. So that's why this project has come back to you for public hearing as a CUP. The properties are included in our Fifth Street Corridor Master Plan, which was adopted by council on May 23rd, 2006, and the plan provided a vision and blueprint for the revitalization of the corridor. The master plan does explicitly recommend against the expansion of auto-oriented uses. The rezoning petition for this property, which was denied in July, would have allowed the expansion of those auto-oriented uses and permitted several other more intense and inappropriate uses, which was the main point of concern for Planning Commission as part of that petition. In contrast, the CUP would allow a specific use within the existing building without altering the zoning. The auto body repair use should not be detrimental to the surrounding area as long as it is limited to occur within the existing structure and the recommended conditions are followed. Again, Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition on September 11th, 2024. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer questions after the public hearing.
Okay, thank you so much. Would the petitioner like to make a presentation?
My name is Dave Durbin. I will be the spokesperson for Care Holdings. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Yes, we are here. We're requesting council's approval of a conditional use permit, allowing us to operate the building as a body shop. We feel our request is consistent within the current businesses that are there in that area. We also feel that as a body shop, we will be providing a needed service for the area, particularly with the season that's coming up with winter, deer, and whatnot. Obviously, I don't think I need to overstate the benefits that it would have for us to continue operating there, which we've done for over 42 years as Kerr. Looking at the increased revenue, obviously for the city, the support that the workers there would provide to other businesses in the area, and keeping one building that's not going to be vacant. Keep it alive. We've been working with the Planning Commission. We wanted to ensure that our business and property, they're tailored to their vision and their plan for this neighborhood. As I said, we've been there for over 42 years, and we ask you to please allow us to continue to do business there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If we have any questions, we'll call you back up. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Please remember to state your name and locality of residence, please.
Okay, my name is Marvin Marcia. Hey, City Council members. We the tenants of this beautiful property, and we like to have the opportunity to using this auto body shop conditional use. The only reason is because my business has been here in Lynchburg for 15 years, and it's the only for professional I can do as a body shop. I went to college to be a professional body man. So that's why we require, and please have mercy with me and my family and my kids. I have 3 children, American citizens, that I want to pay for degree so they can go to college and all that. So recommendation for the Planning Commission, they approve it, the conditional use. Okay, thank you guys. Have a blessed
There's a
night.
couple people not like me and my husband here, but we keep on working. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of this project? Good evening.
Mayor, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Also had a good meeting the other night with the 20th anniversary of Lighthouse. It was nice to see you guys, and thank you for coming and represent us and give us a good show out. Marvin has been with the car wash across from my church. It's been nothing but a pillar in the community. He goes all out to help us. He does everything. He volunteers. He helps us with he volunteers to wash our vans for free. And nobody does that except for church stuff. And this guy has come down and helped us. He's worked with food drives. His family is good to us. They've been over to the church. They've cleaned up that street. If you look to the right of the building, that whole side was just terrible for years. It was just an eyesore. And they cleaned that up. They cleaned up the front side and also the back side. And Mr. Smith has the other side over there that he's had its yard cut, and it's been immaculate for years. But when we go up there to get our car wash, there's never any trouble. There's never any people hanging out. It's a whole different program up there. He goes in at 8 and he leaves at 5, and the place is shut down. There's no cars on the side. There's no people hanging around. Matter of fact, check the police reports. There's none. And if you check and see how wonderful he is to his family, they're always up there willing to help us. And no matter who you are, Marvin has stepped out in the street to help. And that's someone that we need in that community. He's also given jobs to a bunch of guys that were just hanging out. And now they're working. They're making money. They have money to pay rent. They have money to buy food and not stand down in the food line. Some of those guys that Marvin is starting to help, they don't even get the food at the place down here on Clay Street. So, that's a blessing to see people that are working and then that weren't working but are willing to help. So Marvin has done that in our neighborhood. So we would like for him to open up that car wash and that body shop. And if you haven't noticed, the deer are out here. They got me on Rivermont Avenue Saturday morning. 4 of them jumped out, ran across. Marvin said he would fix my car. After I went to Lashley for $3,000, yes, I'm going to Marvin. I can't afford $3,000 for a headlight. Thank you, and you all have a good evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Hello. Please state your name and locality of residence.
My name is Andrew Brown, and I'm with Community Funeral Home, 909 5th Street. Mr. Marvin has been a big help to us. Like I say, he washes all our vehicles. He even washes our personal vehicles also. I look at this as a great thing to come to 5th Street, a great thing to come to Lynchburg with the crime rate and everything up. It could be job opportunities for our youth. During the summer, when they're out of school, the kids can go work, help out, or whatever. Like he said, some of the people that were roaming up and down 5th Street, Marvin gave them a job. And now they don't, they're working. So it's a great thing to come to Lynchburg with revenue and business, more business, people coming to get their vehicle fixed. So I look at it as a great thing. Marvin is a big help to the community. So why not give it to him? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
My name is Kevin Grissom. I reside at 1815 Rivermont Avenue, apartment 65. I've been privileged to live with or beside, as a neighbor, Mr. Mike Everett, whose behest I come here. And I've been thinking about this all day long. And, I'm here because the business of America is still business, regardless of how you cut it, slice it, and dice it. The business of America is still business. And within that demographic, you have small business. And within that demographic, the lifeblood of that small business is your women and your minorities. You want to see the future of business in America? Here they are. And so on their behalf, I want to lift them up and ask you, what are we doing as a community, as a city, to incentivize enterprise-level ambitions among the elite of this group over here in order to best provide the utmost in goods and services to the people of our community? I'll leave that with you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? I know there's another person in the back. How about if you're in favor, you can maybe start a line? You could just stand in the aisle and wait your turn. Great.
Good evening. My name is Elsa Duran. I am the director of the Hispanic Community Center here in Lynchburg. I know Mr. Marcia since 2008 or 9 when he was a young guy. Used to come to my body shop that was on 1212 Park Avenue. And we trained him to become the professional he is right now. And right now he is working positively, bringing a good impact in our community, especially in downtown. Not only with the all community, but with the Hispanic community. He's supporting our community. She's bringing and being positive about any events that we have because he has a business. And I believe he does have the opportunity to keep going and keep working and growing because he has built himself from here. And now he's a professional, and it's not fair that he will not have the opportunity of being harassed because he's trying to bring a business here. Continue the business he already started on 1212 Park Avenue, just because people are getting against him. Because I hear from other people all the very despicable expressions that they have against him just because he's a Hispanic. So discrimination should not be allowed. We're doing the other business. So that's what is going on here. This is about discrimination, looking his racial, his face, like, oh, he's Latino, out of this area. And then I come here to say that we are one community. This is downtown, and he's working here, paying taxes, and that's we should all care about it. And that's what I always have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm a bit advocate, but and plus I'm going to be in favor. Cause just imagine if y'all didn't have these jobs or other jobs. Can you imagine trying to figure out how to feed your family and asking? So just imagine if you was on the other side of this man. And I haven't heard nothing but good reports. This is my friend. She gave the best reports, but she was afraid to speak. So I'm always speak. So.
Can you just for the record state your names?
Consuela Mosley, and I deserve he get a chance. We're all human, and we're all trying to make a family and live. So I'm in favor of him. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rosalie. I spoke before. My family owns the property on 4th Street. We've had that property for over 60 years. He has done numerous jobs for us. I live in the county. My sister lives at that address. We've unfortunately met deer this time of year, and he's worked on our vehicles for us, no problems. We didn't have to bring anything back. He didn't forget to do anything. He didn't overcharge, nothing. And I think it would be nice to have some diversity in the area and give the person an opportunity to continue to build his business. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Franklin Smith. I live next door to Marvin shop and everything. He have come there and did more than anybody I've ever seen in my 79 years out of business. One time they used to tell me, you work all the time, you work all the time when you come through. Well, I've gotten old, I don't work all the time now. But I can tell somebody else and can recognize when somebody else is about something, about getting something done. I could stand up here and talk a long time, but I think everything has been said that need to be said. No need to keep repeating something when the proper things have been spoken. It's up to you. You say you have 3 minutes, I should have 2 more. I'm not going to use but one of them. Okay? He has a shop here. If you look at it, he's going to do body shop. So he's going to be working inside. He's not going to be working outside, banging and carrying on. He's going to be inside. How in the world can this government tell somebody if he got a permit and he got the authority from you guys, if you're going to give it to him, he's going to be inside the shop. He done made the whole neighborhood look beautiful. I'm there and I'm just doing a little bit because I'm old. Planting a few flowers here and there, and this man is working, painting fences, painting the building, getting things done. And I hear somebody complain about one window pane. Why don't you just cut this pettiness out? The man going to be inside, working, taking care of his family. There's enough of this unjust going on in this America. Don't let it keep on going on here in Lynchburg.
Thank you. Is there anyone else want to speak in favor? Yes?
How y'all doing?
Hi.
My name is Terrence Spencer, and I'm a business associate of Marvin and his family. And I just thought this country was built on competition between smaller businesses. That's how this country was built. And I don't feel like unfair practices because who you know can help shut up another person's business down so you don't have that competition. I look at Marvin's business as an asset. He's been helping me fix vehicles for 15 years or more. We've never had a problem. And what he's trying to do is going to help all of us, because have you seen the waiting list to get a car fixed in Lynchburg right now? It's 7 to 8 months if you have a lot of damage. So we need more body shops because we got more deer coming in. And I just feel like he needs a fair shake. And doing a good business, I see him as an asset, not a liability. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Anyone else speak in favor? Okay, anyone here to speak in opposition?
Good evening. Mayor Reed, Vice Mayor Giraldi, and other council members. It's pretty hard to stand here and speak after these folks from the community have spoken so well, so eloquently about this gentleman who I've never met. I am here to represent the Legacy Museum of African American History. We have 2 buildings, one at 403 Monroe Street, one at 405 Monroe Street. We have the land in between where there's a wonderful gazebo. I have a few of my other board members here with me tonight. Would you please stand? I want to thank you for the opportunity to let us present a different side of the story. The Legacy has been here in this community for 25 years, and we've seen many, many changes. One is that some retail stores have closed and others have relocated. We are aware that the 5th Street Master Plan calls for a neighborhood of residences and retail stores. However, in the museum's location, there are 3 auto body shops and 1 auto sales shop. If you look at that map there, we're down on the same side of the street, but further up. One of the things that we have noticed is with the increased traffic and increased business, there are lines of cars that go from the bottom of Monroe Street halfway up, sometimes right in front of our museum. Most often, they're in front of our Legacy Activity Center, which is down right behind the auto shop. The Legacy, of course, is looking forward to having various entities in the community to increase the walkability as well as the viability of entrepreneurship. We're not asking anybody to close their doors. We're not asking to put anybody out of business. We're asking that they respect the fact that we've had a museum there for 25 years, and that during the week, as well as on the weekend, we have a lot of programs. We also do tours. We have a lot of other entities coming in and out. It's very difficult for us to operate when we don't have access to the street. I know it's a public street, but in the conditional use permit, it says that they would be parking on 5th Street. I'm over at the museum at least twice a week. When I'm there, I've noticed that there are cars not in their parking lot, but right there on Monroe Street. oftentimes in front of the LAC.
I'm sorry, your time is up. I apologize.
Well, I'm representing an organization.
Was that 3 minutes or 5 minutes? She is.
The Legacy Museum of African American History.
So you have 2 more minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. We're very interested in the community, and as I said, we offer various programs on site as well as off-site. The Legacy is most interested in the local auto body shop maintaining the conditions of the permit while assisting people having vehicle concerns. Oftentimes, as I said before, there are cars, some without license plates, that are parked in front of the LAC and further down towards the corner. We're only asking that they be respectful of the fact that we've been there in the community offering educational and historical programs. We have a lot of visitors coming in. Sometimes they come in van, sometimes they come in on bus. Just asking that they be respectful of the fact that we are there. And we would certainly be willing to support their efforts, but we need to have access for our visitors. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition?
Where's the timer, sorry?
Pardon?
The timer, 3 minutes?
3 minutes if you're speaking as an individual.
Yeah, individual. Is there a timer? I just want to make sure. Okay, cool, sweet. What's that?
Right there.
I don't see
Push
it.
it right on the thing, TV. Right here. Sorry.
Oh, cool. I better get going. All right, cool deal. All right, so guys, the reality is, I mean, people have said a lot of great things, but maybe what those people don't know is the truth. It's been a lot of smoke and mirrors. I've known of him for the last 2 years, so I've seen over the past 2 years myself. And yes, he was at 1212 Park Avenue. It's important to know he was, as he said, there for 15 years. As you remember, we got that property rezoned, and it took us forever to clean that property up. There were mounds of tires, mounds of oil all over the grass, all over everywhere. It was terrible, terrible conditions. We got that cleaned up. Everything was all over the fence. The trees were overgrown. It was constant and a great expense for us. And now you see 1212 Park Avenue as a beautiful place, and it's going to continue to get better and better. Also, you know, it's not like this is not the only place to do body work. There's plenty of shops around town. There's plenty. He actually had one at 1811 Memorial Avenue, and he didn't pay the landlord. He's tugging him with $7,000 in past due rent. You don't hear about that. No one tells you about that. The landlord put a lien on his personal house, which is in Madison Heights. You can check the records. The attorney put the lien on that property. That's important. Also, you talk about the business and hiring people. I would like to see one employee contract. I would like to see one independent contractor agreement. All it is a cash business. You're not paying taxes. You're not doing anything correct. You have to follow the rules of the city if you want to participate in doing business in the city. Also, you talk about police record. He's been in jail for 3 months. You didn't hear anything about that. That is on the police record. He hit his wife who stood up here by him. They got drunk at their house. Police came out there, arrested him, took him to jail. Spent a week in Lynchburg, went another 3 months in Piedmont Regional Jail. That is a true fact.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I don't think that this dice is for personally attacking citizens in our community, and I think
No, they've been talking about his character all night.
inappropriate for you to allow this to continue.
Madam Clerk, it's relevant. They have opened the door to his character all night long.
I'm speaking at the floor. I think it is completely inappropriate for you.
Can I pause the time?
Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Council Missions, what were you?
I think it is completely inappropriate for you to allow this to continue.
Because he won't work for you.
I think this is on the record, public record. I think it's very relevant. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Just hold on a second. Mr. Friedman.
So, Madam Mayor, if you believe the comments are either designed to harass or insult or be abusive toward a particular individual, it'd be appropriate to direct the speaker to avoid such language and to direct them to keep their comments germane to health, safety, welfare, or that specific use that the city is considering.
Yeah, sir, I would like you to just, it's really about opposing or being in favor of what we're voting on tonight. So if you could just make it more about that and less about the personal issues of
Just wanted to
his
have,
family.
yes, ma'am, just wanted the city to have both sides of the coin since they spend a lot of time talking about his personal character, not the property. That's all.
That's not what we're voting on tonight. So if you
Yes.
could just focus on that part. Thank you.
Yeah, would also like to say that, if you're going to be doing a body shop, the Kerrs are not going to be operating the Kerrs Body Shop here. It's Marvin's Body Shop. That's totally two completely things. I want to redirect your attention back to 1212 Park Avenue. He was there for 15 years. It was a junkyard. You really got to ask yourself, if you're there 15 years and it's a junkyard, why all of a sudden now would it be immaculate? No, if you give him this, you will have a junkyard on Martin Luther King Memorial Drive right there. As you enter this beautiful city, all this gentrification is happening, you will have torn up cars, and there's nothing you can do about it because you've allowed a body shop. There are plenty other body shops. We know them, and there's plenty other locations he can provide for his family. And the reality is he just left the other place to try to come by this place, and he stuck that guy with $7,000. That's the reality.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other?
Could you please stop the public? They didn't get stopped. I'm trying to speak, and they're just interjecting.
Okay.
It's so disrespectful.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition?
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, my name is Lonnie Woodson, and I'm speaking because I don't have nothing against nobody, but I took my car to Marvin to do some work on it. He's supposed to be a body man. He did the body work. Then he comes back and he tells me I got an oil leak. I said, okay. He said he got mechanics. He's supposed to fix my oil leak. My car is still sitting. He took my money and he continued to take my money. And I'm just saying, if you're gonna let him operate like that and take people money, well, I don't know none. I know some of these guys and I don't know. But I'm gonna be straight up and tell you, if you let him take the money and people continue to complain, then how can he do a mechanic shop and a body shop and a car wash without a permit? I'm gonna leave it like that. He took my money. How many more people money he's gonna take saying he can fix that car and he broke that car? Now I'm gonna leave my 1 minute and 40-something seconds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in opposition? Are there any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay. There are 5 minutes for a rebuttal, if anybody would like to, but that would be from you, sir. Yes.
It isn't really much of a rebuttal.
Okay.
What I want to say to the Legacy Museum, we respect that. We respect what you have accomplished there. and
If
what
you could speak into the
represent.
microphone, sir,
What
sorry.
you represent to this community. And we will do everything in our power to make sure that the issues that they have don't become issues. I know that they have limited hours, probably in the time that we're operating, they're open 14 to 15 hours a week. Those are things that we can work around. In reference to turning it into a junkyard, that's not going to happen. We're working with Rachel and the Planning Commission to make sure that those things do not occur. We've been there for 42 years. We plan on keeping that going. We feel we had a good reputation while we were there. We were part of the community, and we want to continue that moving forward. And Marvin is a person that can make that happen for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is now closed and the matter rests with council. May I have a motion? Councilman Helgeson?
Just a quick question, Rachel. You can. As I'm reading the conditions and I'm reading what was presented to the planning commission, it looks like number 6 was kind of added on the fly. Kind of added in the planning commission.
It was added during the meeting based on their discussion.
And so with that, as I read that, I can understand the other, conditions 1 through 5. That 6th condition kind of added on the fly. That's normally subject to building code. That normally doesn't have anything to do with land use or conditional use permit. To me, I think that is something that we should strike, item number 6. There's been one conditional use permit that I'm aware of that was revoked. That was quite some time ago. That was at the Allied Sandwich Shop on Memorial Avenue. That was revoked not because the building structure or the look of the building or the air conditioning worked or didn't. It was because of all the problems that happened outside the building. And I think items, the conditions 1 through 5 are dealing with the items that are happening outside the building, which the petitioner has, I believe, agreed to those conditions. It's just that 6th condition where you're talking about, and obviously anybody, the Kerr family who own the building and they want the building in good condition. That's part of what you do for business, but having that in there, to me, it's a little more nebulous. That it can be something that somebody comes in and says, hey, we're going to try to shut down your business, not because of the trouble that happens outside the parking, like Legacy and everything. But it seems a little more arbitrary. So I'll make a motion. So thank you for the clarification of that one. I'll make a motion for approval, striking condition number 6, again, which the reason being is because that kind of came up during the planning commission meeting. A little bit, I understand the intent, but the intent with that verbiage, I don't think it really does it. So striking condition number 6, but approval. Thank you. Now back to the main item here, and I can appreciate the concerns. I can appreciate the issues. What we're looking at here is land use. The land use and the fact that it's been a body shop for 42 years. They're trying to be a good neighbor, recognizing things have maybe not gone as great in previous times and whatnot. But I've been there. I've had Marvin clean my car, did a great job. Professional. Nobody's perfect. People have trouble with businesses and, for whatever reason, this isn't a personal, and I'm glad Mr. Mischens called a point of order, because this isn't about an individual. It's about using the land. It's about a conditional use permit for a building that was designed to be a body shop is now being able to be used as a body shop. A few weeks ago, we talked about rezoning this property, which would have given a lot more ability for them to continue to operate. This now is a conditional use permit. I'm glad they came back and said, hey, we heard the planning commission, we heard the planning staff, and we came back with a conditional use permit that says they will be able to operate this body shop, provided a majority votes in favor, provided they follow those conditions. If those conditions are violated, like the Legacy and Ms. Battle had suggested, there can be a petition that says, hey, you're violating these petitions. You're violating these conditions, rather. And that conditional use permit could be revoked. So I think it's now a good win-win where both sides need to recognize they're good neighbors. And I do appreciate the cleanup work that has been done there. I appreciate how it's, as lots of citizens have mentioned, trying to get work in there, improving buildings, lots of buildings that need to be improved. And this is a good start. And I hope we approve this and follow the planning commission's recommendation, where they almost unanimously voted 5 to 2 voted in favor, recommending that we approve it. So I hope you follow that approval. So thank you.
Councilman Mischens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that this is an easy one. you know, we had a lot of citizens here tonight that were speaking out in favor of this. We've got the building owner, we've got the tenant, we've got, you know, people that are in the community in support of this. And I just love the stories about providing jobs for people, right? And you know, making a difference for folks that way. And that's great. And that's what we need to do. That's it. And I can't remember who it was. There was a gentleman that said the business of America is doing business, and that's what this is. So we need to allow this man and his family and the people that he employs to do business. So I hope that we pass this.
Yes, thank you for the information. Question, do we have any comments from the Fifth Street Corridor Commission? No, they came the last time one of the projects came forward, they had an opinion. And what's the name of that commission again, I'm sorry?
The Fifth Street CDC Community Development Corporation,
Yes.
They did not submit anything
Any comments?
as far as comments.
Okay. I know that the last time another project came, they were against that project. They're the ones who are, so the Fifth Street Master Plan, make sure everybody understands, the Fifth Street Master Plan is a plan that the community put together to have how that Fifth Street corridor would be, what the zoning would be, how that Fifth Street corridor would look. It was a committee of city staff as well as community members put that plan together. So I know we denied another project across the street some time ago. What was the difference between that project and this project?
So the rezoning that you're referring to from July was this same
No,
property?
The one prior, because one of them we denied. There was one across the street.
There was one on Park Avenue that was approved for car sales. But the one that was denied was this petition. It was a rezoning version of this same petition to allow the auto body use. Our zoning ordinance also allows a conditional use permit to be granted in the B4 district. Previously, they had asked to rezone to B5, and the B5 district allowed a lot of other things like towing yards, lumber yards, industrial equipment rental, things that were just really inappropriate in this setting. So that was one that planning staff and planning commission had recommended denial of, and ultimately city council recommended or denied the petition. So now because that was denied, they have chosen to pursue a conditional use permit, which is where council would grant approval to do a specific use rather than blanket change the zoning.
No, I'm talking about, I think it was a car sales shop or something on that other side of that property.
At Park Avenue was.
No,
was
not on
approved.
Park Avenue. It
Oh.
was also on Monroe.
There was two small, there was Park Avenue and was it Monroe? Where is it, Hunter?
No, I think it was Hubbard something.
Oh,
Yeah. I think
Mr.
they
Hubbard has not petitioned.
Wasn't that project denied or something?
He has never petitioned to,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I thought that project was denied.
He's brought it up as a concern before it, but he has not submitted a petition
Okay,
for that.
all right. All right. I was gonna make sure, because one comment in the committee was saying, make sure we're consistent in what we're doing. So I just want to make sure we're consistent in what we're doing.
Sure. Sorry for the confusion.
That's
on my
okay,
part.
that's okay. All right. Thank you, appreciate it.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like to direct my comment to Marvin
Marvin.
and Legacy. You can stay seated. Marvin, I would love to see you and Legacy work together and that y'all be good neighbors. Because I'm going to be watching. Okay. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Ferrari?
So I'm trying to level set and try not to make an emotional reaction or decision. Here's some of the observations I've made. With respect to all parties, I'm not making a decision on this based off of anything other than is it a good decision? Not where you're from, not your color, culture, background. Quite frankly, that's not a component of this decision at all. It shouldn't be any of us, one way or the other. So that's point number one. I don't like conditional use permits because it does lend folks to lean towards favoritism in a specific setting versus another. So I do have concerns with using conditional use permits because if we pass it here, then we don't pass it right across the street, then what happens? That's a concern of mine. I do recall the conversation that was mentioned about, don't rezone this property when it was previously here and bring it back with a conditional use permit, a CUP. So I do see value there, but I'm just trying to give everybody at least where I traditionally fall on conversations like these. As I understand it, as was previously mentioned, this was rejected at the time for rezoning. Ms. Freshcheisen mentioned that because it had additional types of businesses that could down the line be used, and that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate. Am I missing anything from staff? I mean, that's basically how we got here in the past. Folks, I'm a little torn, if I'm being honest, because I look to those who spoke in opposition at the outset, especially with the museum, and if the concern early on was, at least the first time this came up, the potential way down the line of what this could turn into, the petitioner has come back with a very specific itemized list of things to address those concerns. They've compromised, is what I'm trying to drive at, and I still hear concern from some living in the corridor and who have a stakehold in that corridor. So I see both sides. I do see there's been an attempt to compromise and find common ground, and I do see still some concerns. I don't know about striking the last item, and for those who may not have it in front of them, item number 6 was to keep it in good order, keep the building in good condition. So if I could segue into that conversation, feel free to stay there if it's easier for you. As you're walking up, okay, so we'll keep it in good condition. First off, do we have any other CUPs that you know of where we used similar language?
Not off the top of my head. That was, as mentioned, added at the Planning Commission meeting based on a commissioner's concerns about kind of the current state of the building. And we did have a lot of discussion about whether it was necessary and what the wording should be. Ultimately, they did vote on including it. However, council may choose to reject that condition if they choose. That's what they landed on.
Okay.
So,
in practice, what would that clause actually do?
great question. I do feel it may be redundant. However, the petitioner at Planning Commission made a point of saying they want the building to look as nice as they think the commission wants it to be. So I think, to me, that means following building code, making sure it's secure, safe, and in compliance
Was
with.
there any conversation then about making that the language as opposed to, and I mean this respectfully, but arbitrarily picking a word, good condition, can be very vague? Why not outline what you just said, which is to be doubly sure that the building stays up to code, is in compliance, and so on and so forth, as you just eloquently just rolled it off your tongue. It's like you've done this before. So why not
I
use
just wasn't
that?
feeling as eloquent at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
No, we talked about it for a while. And again, ultimately, that is what the commission chose to go with. If council wanted to revise it and say, in compliance with building maintenance code, you could do that. If you want to drop it, you can. If you want to leave it as is, you can. It's all council's purview.
My question would be then, okay, so if we have it in there or don't have it in there, they still have to maintain.
I don't think it changes a lot.
Right. That's kind of what I was driving at, as much as I appreciate it. Well, I know it was said. I just want all of us to try to get here together and understand where we're going. I'll yield back for now. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Any other comments or thoughts before I call the vote?
No, I prefer the CUP rather than rezoning, that's for sure. And I also think that, the conditions that were put forth, I think that they're excellent. I don't think they're not allowed to have parked cars on the street, which I think solves the Legacy Museum issue. And I also believe that they will work to be good neighbors with Legacy.
Question. Madam Mayor, I believe the Legacy Museum pointed out a specific itemized concern about parking on the street. And please, I don't mean to bring you back. Forgive me. Clause 1 says, shall not impede the use of the sidewalks and shall be limited to 1101 and 1107 Fifth Street, referencing parking. Is there a way we can even fine tune that even more in a way that is more conducive to the area to try to meet that concern, or would that be us being a little bit too aggressive?
Reading it, personally, I feel it's pretty specific.
I'm targeting the parking component because the parking is associated with those two addresses. So, and that was the only concern, the largest concern I heard from the Legacy Museum.
Yeah, I'm not sure what language council could add to number 1 to make it more specific. I mean, unless you've got suggestions. But I feel like number 1 covers the Legacy Museum's concerns. Now, of course, that does leave it up to enforcement. And if someone is in violation of a condition, we have to document that and kind of proceed through the courts. But that is the process to enforce conditions.
Just a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilman Hudson.
Just I think the property, the address is 1101 and 1107 Fifth Street. Thus, the parking in front of their building. I don't think we've ever restricted somebody from not parking in front of at their business address, is why that's so restrictive already, right?
Well, it's also very, very close to the intersection, so on-street parking is not really an option there anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I agree pretty much with most of what was set up here. I think I'm happy to see a compromise was made that it seems that most people are happy with. I'm happy to hear that Mr. Kerr wants to work with the Legacy Museum's concerns, that they seem to be addressed in the conditions that we're looking at from the Planning Commission. Removing number 6, I understand the argument for redundancy potentially. But also respect what the Planning Commission voted to put on there and that there was a reason that they added it on there. So I'm not thrilled about removing it because it sounds like the petitioner agreed to do it. But, I guess it's not neither here nor there, but I really would prefer to leave it just because, again, the Planning Commission voted to have it there. But I think this is a good compromise from the original request, which was the rezoning, because I think it makes people feel more comfortable, but it still allows you to do what you've been trained to do. And I think Councilman Taylor's comment is fair. We want to see you do what you said that you want to be able to do, which is provide a good service to the city, provide jobs, training, and maybe you can help other youth come behind you and do what you have done, which is start a business and use your trade to create an opportunity for your family and others, and that would be wonderful. So with that said, let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Bella?
Yes.
Councilmember Hiddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Missions?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ferraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Consideration of adopting a resolution amending the future land use map and adopting an ordinance changing the zoning of a certain area. Thank you. and adopting an ordinance changing the zoning of a certain area located at 273 Riverside Drive. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Rachel Fresheisen.
Thank you again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. The purpose of this petition is to rezone the R2 low medium density residential district, a portion of the property at 273 Riverside Drive, to RC Conservation District, and amend our future land use map from low density residential to resource conservation. The petitioner has indicated that they wish to conserve the undeveloped property, and Planning Commission has recommended approval of this petition. The northern portion of the property is currently zoned RC, and the southern portion of the property consists of about 2 acres and is zoned R2. The R2 portion is proposed to be rezoned to RC, so that if approved, the entire parcel would have the RC zoning, as shown on the right here. Our future land use map currently recommends resource conservation and low-density residential uses for the property. Low-density residential areas are meant to be single-family detached housing at densities of up to 4 dwelling units per acre. And the petition proposes to amend this low-density portion to resource conservation. These areas encompass lands with special natural characteristics that limit land use and protect our city's environmental health. These areas include steep slopes, stream valleys, and are planned to remain as vegetated open space. The goal is to keep these areas as natural as possible to stabilize slopes, prevent soil erosion, and urban runoff. In its current state, the property fits the description of a resource conservation area. It is undeveloped, consists of vegetated open space, and has very steep slopes. As seen on this map, some parts of the property are upwards of 40% slope. In addition to these factors, it is really not feasible to develop the land into residential homes, as there is insufficient access to the property. The nearest right-of-way, Cool Springs Drive, which is unopened, is unimproved and narrow, only 30 feet wide, and their survey showed that the property does not actually adjoin this small right-of-way. So Planning Commission recommended approval of the petition on September 11th. Thank you very much.
Would the petitioner like to make a presentation? Wow, this is our youngest petitioner.
You gotta start early.
Yeah, you do. That's great.
Good evening, council. My name is Carolyn Wicks, my husband James Wicks, and our 7-year-old son Aiden Wicks. And we are the petitioners and owners of 273 Riverside Drive. And we also live on Riverside Drive to the south of this property at 415. We're supported this evening by our neighborhood family, the residents of Riverside Drive. And I'd like to recognize them if I could, because they've been with us through this whole process and been such a tremendous support. So if you're a resident of Riverside Drive and you are in support of this petition, would you go ahead and stand? We appreciate your support so much and thank you for being here tonight. You'll notice on page 11 of the res report that we received 61 signatures in support of this petition from residents of Riverside Drive. If you vote yes to support this conservation rezoning, you're not only recognizing the vision and desire of these Riverside residents, which we are, but you are supporting the recognized legacy of Lynchburg in balancing development with green space protection. In September, all of us were excited in Lynchburg about the study published in USA Today that recognized our city as the 4th best city to move to in the South. And why? They could have pointed at so many different things, but they pointed out specifically if you love nature. So the development vision of this city that you know well as council members is that Lynchburg's children like Aiden should not have to go to a city park. They shouldn't have to go to the Blue Ridge to see old growth forest or wildlife. It should be in their own backyards. And so by voting yes and conserving property like 273 Riverside Drive, this does that for our neighborhood because so many of our houses border this undeveloped land. And it's our family's purpose and privilege to maintain this property for our neighbors, for the beautification of our wonderful neighborhood, and also the preservation of animal habitat. If you vote yes to support this conservation rezoning, as Rachel mentioned, you're recognizing the zoning precedents of the connecting forest lots. You can see on page 9 of the plat that 273 Riverside Drive is part of a canyon that has 6 other forested lots. The zoning precedents for 5 of these lots is RC. The one that's an exception is the one owned by Timothy Burnett, and it actually connects, as Rachel mentioned, to the paper road, Cool Springs Drive. That's not the case of our property at 273. It doesn't legally connect. It doesn't have any paved road access, which is needed for R2 development. The lot also does not have water. It doesn't have power or gas utilities. When our family and our wonderful Riverside neighbors appeared before the Planning Commission last month, Commissioner Peralta spoke in favor of reinforcing the value of RC. And he said, quote, "Anything like this where we are increasing resource conservation is a great thing." Commissioner Bowden also highlighted the fact that this property has a water source that empties into the James River. And here's what he said, quote, "To be able to take care of another piece that ultimately dumps into the James makes a lot of sense." So tonight, as you consider the zoning precedents of the plat map, the endorsement comments of the Planning Commission, and this land's important place in the green space legacy of Lynchburg, our family and our neighbors ask that you would vote yes for this conservation. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. I'll call you back up if we have any questions. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mayor Reed and members of City Council. I am a resident of Riverside Drive. I own two properties. My husband and I, we own two properties, one of which my mother lives in, and we live in the other with our two boys. I own the Wicks for years, and as has already been pointed out about this piece of property, that is really not appropriate for development because of the steep slopes, the creek, the stream valleys. It has no, as I said, frontage for a street or access. While if you are concerned about people being able to find land to develop to build houses, because that is an issue in Lynchburg, if you look at this exact same map, well, you can't see it here, but you can see it in what's been provided to you on the southwest side of Riverside Drive. There's a big chunk of land leading up to the river that are lots for sale. I'm sure somebody owns them. They have not yet developed them. They haven't developed them for the 17 years that I've been living there. So that is available out there. There is that option there. But our neighborhood is wonderful, number one, because of our neighbors, and number two, because of the tranquility that we have. My boys have played in these woods behind the Wicks home, has inspired my oldest to rejoin the Scouts, to be out there in nature. And so I think it is important to have that balance of developed spaces as well as conservation. I ask that you vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Any voicemails?
There are none.
Okay. The public hearing is now closed and the matter rests with council. Do I have, may I have on the resolution amending the flume, I have a motion. We're doing one of two votes, actually.
So moved.
Okay. Councilman Taylor? Vice Mayor?
I was trying to think of a punny comment to say, but I don't have one, so I guess I just have to plant it for next time.
Okay. Any discussion or comments from anyone? Councilman Helgeson?
I think which is what this is. It's amazing that you have to pay permit fees to have this. You got to pay advertising in order for you to want to take your own property and say, I don't want anybody to build on it. I mean, that's an American way to say, don't build on it, make it RC. And so hopefully this is going to pass unanimously like it did on the Planning Commission. The interesting thing, though, is why it had to go through so many steps in order to go to resource conservation. I understand, but I'm glad to support it. And thank you for donating your property basically to be non-developed and to be conserved. And, you know, the deer love it. We just passed a deer hunting ordinance, so maybe there'll be some, if you never need to thin out the herd there'll be some people that'll be ready to go. So anyway, thank you.
Any other comments? Councilman Dolan?
I'm really excited about this. This is just refreshing to see somebody who wants to conserve the property in this manner. Thank you very much for bringing this forth.
Councilman Mischins?
It's a pretty neat area back there. I remember when a gentleman named Phil Holt some of you guys have probably lived back there for a while. Actually developed all that. And I built the first house on the corner down in there. I think that was like 2003. But I remember him talking about how he wanted to try to build one of those Frank Lloyd Wright houses over one of the steep drop-offs. Obviously, it never happened, but the topography is horrendous, and I think it's great that you're doing this. I've got a creek in my backyard, which is hard to come by these days, and some trees, and my kids. I've got a 6 and an 8-year-old, so Brackett and him, and it's kids need woods to play in. It's a shame that you got to advertise and pay, like Councilmember Helgeson said, to do this, but I appreciate you doing this.
Anyone else? I agree. Very generous of you. Thank you. Raised 4 boys, and they love woods and dirt and trees, and our city needs it, and really very noble thing to do. We appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Great. May I have a motion on the ordinance changing the zoning?
So.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor? Nothing? Transmissions?
Nope.
No? Any other discussion? No? I would just assume everybody's going to say the same awesome things. So thank you again, and let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. All right, I'm letting clapping happen tonight, but normally we're not supposed to, but this was a good thing, so. Okay, consideration of introducing an ordinance approving the fiscal year 2025 first quarter adjustments. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Donowit.
Good evening. This item was presented on September 10th as a business item briefing. These first quarter adjustments include items that were not completed in fiscal year 2024, request use of leftover appropriations from fiscal year 2024, items that were not included in the fiscal year 2025 budget due to waiting for the state budget to be completed, and grant and capital project true-up. The largest adjustment is to appropriate the Public Safety Building Reserve to purchase furniture and fixtures for the new police headquarters. After the public hearing, I will answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Any voicemails?
There are none.
Okay, the public hearing is closed and the matter rests with council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Wilder?
No additional comments.
Okay, Councilman Dolan?
I have none.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Nope.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 6-1.
Vice Mayor Farley?
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to submit, I just wanted to make sure that we can have this not on the consent agenda. I do intend to vote for it at our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so noted. Okay, we're moving on to public comment. Did, Ms. Finney, did you have a note about this?
Yes, Mayor Reed. We did hear from the last public commenter, Gary Taylor, earlier today. He's unable to make it, but was not able to adjust the agenda to show
Okay.
that.
Thank you very much, so noted. Okay, the next section is public comment. During public comment, individual speakers have 3 minutes to speak, and those representing a group have 5 minutes to speak. Typically, City Council takes comments made under the public comment section of the agenda under advisement and may refer concerns to the city manager for follow-up. Citizens often express conflicting and diverse positions regarding specific issues under consideration. To encourage citizen participation and to avoid intimidation to persons who may express sometimes unpopular opinions, applause cheers, or jeers from the audience are not permitted. When appearing before City Council, citizens may not engage in behavior that intimidates or insults others, engage in disruptive behavior, use profanity or vulgar language, promote private business ventures, or campaign for office. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding local and national election reform and election acceptance. Jeff Rosner, please restate your name and locality of residence.
Yes, my name is Jeff Rosner, and I'm a resident of Lynchburg. There are some local election reform and election acceptance issues in the current City Council election. At the October 10th forum, Ward 2 candidate Rodney Hubbard said he would not necessarily accept the results of the Ward 2 election. Ward 1 candidate, Jacqueline Timmer, is the director of the American Voters Alliance. The American Voters Alliance website says, quote, "The state of Virginia has taken a few backward steps," unquote, including, quote, "drop-off locations for ballots, Sunday voting, banning firearms within 40 feet of a polling location," unquote. These so-called backward steps are recent election reforms, some intended to encourage more people to vote. Ms. Timmer was also the president of another organization, Get Freedom. On January 2nd, 2021, a Get Freedom email said, quote, "Sign on to a joint letter from state legislators to Vice President Mike Pence to demand that he call for a 12-day delay on ratifying the election," unquote, meaning the 2020 presidential election. The email is quoted in a congressional report. Finally, Ward 3 candidate Kurt Deemer posted these statements on his Facebook page. Quote,
You know, obviously, one of our rules of procedure, you can't be campaigning for office. Attacking an opponent or pointing out certain things of an opponent that you have backed and endorsed, the Democrat Party has backed and endorsed, is tacit campaigning for their person. So I would hope that he wouldn't be campaigning for either for one of their Democrats or attacking the Republicans that are running for office. That's not what this public comment should be for.
yeah, well, Mr. Helgeson is correct, and I certainly do not intend to campaign for or against anybody, only to present certain statements, and the public can draw whatever conclusions they see fit. I'm not saying what conclusions they should have.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, may I conclude? Okay, the statements from candidate Deemer's Facebook page, quote, "So now we know it was the FBI rigging our elections, not the Russians," unquote. Quote, "The stealing will be much more difficult this presidential election," unquote. So in conclusion, these local issues have not been covered much in newspapers or on television, but they are similar to national issues with a lot of press coverage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding the towing city contract. Heather Cash, please restate your name and locality of residence.
Hi, I'm Heather Cash. I'm from Madison Heights, and we have a business in Lynchburg. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. My name is Heather Cash, and my husband is Matthew Cash. My husband's family owns Cash's Garage in Madison Heights and was one of this term's applicants for the Lynchburg City towing contract. I'm here tonight representing Cash's Garage in reference to the city towing contract. I would like to address that the contract provides towing services for city-owned vehicles, private vehicles that come under the jurisdiction of the Lynchburg Police Department, the Community Development Department, and the Public Works Department. To clarify, police-initiated tows include accident tows. So if the party does not have a preference, or if the party is debilitated, it goes to the company contracted through the city. Also in the proposal, there is a section for accident tow rates that should be followed by the contract provided. What is the protocol at an accident or a traffic stop, and the individual is not there to make the decision? Who is called? In every surrounding county and the majority of the state of Virginia, there is a rotation system to give equal opportunity for qualified companies to respond. I am here tonight in opposition to the Towing Advisory Board's recommendation to go with a sole company for the towing contract and urging the council to push for a rotation system, and here is why. Based on the qualifications and requirements, Cash's Garage meets all the qualifications set forth in the contract and proposal, and I do not feel the Towing Advisory Board gave Cash's Garage a fair evaluation. Let me give some background and qualifications that Cash's Garage meets. We have light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks for towing, recovery, hauling, and a multitude of secondary equipment for accident scenes. Within the proposal requirements, we exceeded all requested requirements. Cash's Garage has been in business for 67 years, and in that time period, we have made a trusted name for ourselves within the community, responding to all county and state rotation calls. We have 3 locations, with each location having fenced-in 24/7 video surveillance with ample storage. We are the only company that submitted a proposal that has a storage facility within Lynchburg city limits. We currently tow and service all of Amherst County Fire and EMS, along with successfully towing GLTC buses. If anyone from the Towing Advisory Board would have done their due diligence and reached out to even one of our references, they would have obtained this information. So City Council, to be clear, not one individual on the Towing Advisory Board reached out to even one of our references or the state and local departments. I ask you, how does an advisory board come to a decision without so much as a phone call? The composition of the Towing Advisory Board, can I get 5 minutes since I'm representing a group?
So Matthew Cash came and spoke on Cash's Garage about the city towing contract within our 3 months. So the group cannot speak again on the
Okay,
same issue.
well, can I get a motion to, I still have a little bit. Okay. They were lacking 2 representatives from the private towing and recovery sector. This was not without a lack of people inquiring for the position. Lewis Litchford from Piedmont Fleet, a local towing company, tried multiple times contacting Ms. Suter about volunteering for this position. He left several voicemails without even a callback from Ms. Suter. At the last council meeting, Ms. Suter stated that most of Beeline's employees live within minutes of the city. However, the tow board never asked or inquired about the vicinity and where our employees live, or asked about our response times. So how can that be a determining factor when they never looked further into this? Also, the current contracted company has the contract for the past 11 years. My husband inquired of Ms. Suter whether the current company had been audited or monitored on whether this company had been abiding by their contract prices for police-initiated citizen tows. She declined to do any investigation. If a company is contracted through the city, why is it not regulated through periodic audits? One company should not monopolize the city contract, and the city should allow multiple qualified companies to be a part of a contract. In times of inclement weather and natural disasters, would it not be wise to have multiple companies committed to the city to help in these efforts? There is ample opportunity for multiple companies to share in the contract. Once again, we urge the council to consider a rotation system.
Thank you very much. The next section is general business. This section includes general items of.
I'd just like to ask the city manager to follow up on something real quick regarding that. Something that was kind of portrayed in the last meeting was that all the citizens, or that the consensus document was signed. And from what I understood reading it, the only people that signed the consensus document were city employees. So we can clear that up. Also, the website showing that there's 3 citizens on the towing advisory board, but there were only slots for 2 citizens to sign is what it looked like. And they were both blank. So I just want to get some clarification on that, why is it that no citizens supported the consensus document? That's all.
We can do that via email after this. Okay, please. The next section is general business. This section includes general items of new business, consideration of adopting an ordinance consolidating the city's erosion control and stormwater management requirements and revising the city's illicit discharge requirements. This item was presented to council during our business item briefings on October 8th, 2024. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Councilman Dolan?
Well, there's not much more to say about this. We had a presentation. I think we all need to know this has to happen.
Dr. Wilder?
No other additional comments. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion?
I guess just maybe if Aaron can.
Pardon? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Obviously, this is a really long document with regarding stormwater and the mandates. In there are several things, kind of buried in the 100 so pages, with regarding criminal fines, like people could be thrown in jail for 12 months and fines up to 32,000. And now, was that part of the state code that we must adopt, or any of those things added per city policy?
Those are not added per city policy. These are things that are allowable under the state code for enforcement of the program. To my knowledge, we have never taken anyone to jail for violations of that. Certainly, civil penalties have been issued for certain violations, but criminal charges have I don't believe have been brought. We have had to take some developers in the past to court for failure to abide by that. But other than that, that has been our more egregious issues that we have handled to date. Is there anything else to add? No? Okay.
So in there with the jail time, I didn't think that we had done anything like that. I'm very familiar with the civil, the penalties and the fines, and obviously, is that something we've added, or is that part of the state code where we have the jail time?
Yeah, I would not say
Up to-
it would not be my opinion that would be something that we've added, but I would look to Mr. Friedman for further clarification.
Councilmember Helgeson, is there a particular section you're looking at that might help me to?
To 100 some
narrow it
pages,
down.
and with that, there are things in there with regarding, it's way down the list. I don't have it exactly, but it was.
And if it
But
helps,
it's referring to up to 12 months of jail time.
I believe I see here what you're referring to. It may be for section 16.1-17 for enforcement.
Yep, it's way down on our document somewhere.
So if you look under section 16.1-15, that's before that, where it says repealed, you'll see some crossouts that are there. Under A, it says violators of this chapter shall be deemed guilty of a class 1 misdemeanor for each violation. For what it may be worth to city council, everything in here was authorized by state code. It is helpful to the city to be able to have as much enforcement power as possible sometimes with these scenarios. Sometimes there can be, and I'll let Aaron and Mr. Frith speak to this. There can be some real disasters sometimes with dealing with erosion and stormwater management. So with that said, we also did get a third-party attorney to look over this just to make sure we are fully covered in everything we need in our program. So we have a pretty solid ordinance here.
So with that, so obviously per the Dillon rule, we can do up to these kind of things. And so I'm finding it here now. It's under section F. There are a lot of pages, but in our packet, we're like page 158, 159, 158. On here, it says so section F, that any condition of land disturbance shall be guilty of a misdemeanor publishable by confinement in jail for not more than 12 months, or a fine not less than $2,500 and not more than $32,500. So that is something that we don't have in the ordinance currently. That is an addition I didn't see that on there, the jail time for the strikeouts and the replacements.
Well, the jail time well, let me say this. It is in the current ordinance. We have to update the erosion and sediment control and stormwater management ordinance. We're not doing this just because we want to.
Yeah, I'm not asking about that. What I'm asking about is I didn't see where the previous, normally you have the ordinance that has strikeouts. That's what we replaced with the new language per state law. Okay. With this new language per state law, I didn't see and it's a long page and I'm sure it's probably in there, but the old ordinance before we're amending it, did it have in there that somebody could be confined and jailed for 12 months for, was that in there before?
That it was. There is the maximum penalty that if determined by a judge, that could be the maximum penalty. I believe that was in there before. It's not anything that we have ever had to resort to, so forgive me for being a little unfamiliar with it, but we have, when we worked with Mr. Friedman to put together the ordinance, also with Akala, who's a very well-respected law firm that works on these types of issues across the state, we were very diligent to make sure that the ordinance really stayed the same. We did not change anything within this other than to consolidate the ordinance based on the state legislation that combine these two. So all of this is enabled by the legislations that enacts both of the erosion control and the stormwater requirements.
It's under page 156. So if you look at section 16.1-15, where the strikeout says penalties, injunctions, and other legal actions repealed. Under A, it talks about a class 1 misdemeanor. In D, it talks about 2,000 being the civil penalty for the violation. That number was likely increased from what I understand in consulting with the outside attorney because the city needs as much enforcement power as it can get because some of these folks, they are rich, and not having the ability to be able to have effective fines can affect the ability to have lawful developments with effective stormwater and erosion sediment control programs.
My question is specific. So I see the fines, I see the previous misdemeanor. My question is the jail time.
Yes, it's under A on that same page. Violators of this chapter shall be deemed guilty of a class 1 misdemeanor for each violation. Class 1 misdemeanor is 12 months. It's up to 12 months.
So that's implicit in A, even though it doesn't say that it's 12 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Councilman Jones?
So just to be clear on this, because the section being referenced here that Councilmember Roberts is talking about is the enforcement section. It's F, it's paragraph F in enforcement, which is under 16-18, 17, right before 18. And it says notwithstanding any other civil or equitable remedy provided by this chapter or by applicable law, and it goes on to say, be guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by confinement in jail not more than 12 months. That's not struck through, but if I'm understanding this correctly, we repealed the penalty. Is that right? So what's the difference between this part, the jail time being in the enforcement, and what was repealed?
It's the same. So when we talk about a class 1 misdemeanor, so under the state code, that is punishable by up to 12 months and up to $2,500 in fines and/or. The only difference here is that we're just calling it an unclassified misdemeanor, punishable up to 12 months. So it's the same. So the court could treat it as just a generic misdemeanor when they charge them versus defaulting to a class 1 misdemeanor. The only difference that I'm noting here is that the ability to get a fine is higher under the $32,500 versus $2,500. So that's a fine versus a civil penalty. So there isn't much difference. This is better for the city. Let me say that. The way it's written now.
Anything else? All right, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Helgeson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2025 city federal state aid fund budget and appropriating 4,434, no, 4 million, sorry, my commas were off, y'all. $4,434,270 to hire 21 firefighters with the Lynchburg Fire Department. I wish it was $4,000, but $4,434,270. This item went to our Finance Committee earlier today, and I will defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Feraldi. But do we want the chief to speak first? Sorry, I saw you walking out. I was going to let you speak. We're going to have you speak, but do you want to speak now?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to defer to the chief considering the magnitude of the grant and what
Yes.
it means.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. I'm incredibly excited to come before you tonight to request an adoption of the resolution regarding our successful federal staffing for adequate emergency response SAFER grant from FEMA in the amount of $4.4 million. This award affords us an opportunity to hire 21 new firefighters and covers their salaries and benefits for a period of no less than 3 years, beginning in March of 2025. The grant is structured in a way that the city has no financial obligations specifically related to salaries and benefits to these new firefighters until March of 2028. Additionally, there is no match for this grant, although there are expenses for the new employees that include but are not limited to overtime for instructors in the Recruit Academy, personal protective equipment, and uniforms. This is a highly competitive award, and I am incredibly proud of our team that put together the successful grant package and appreciate your continued support of our department. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Wonderful. Anybody have any questions or comments? Council Mischins?
So it does not include the purchase of turnout gear, correct?
Correct.
Does it include the purchase of air packs?
The air packs we already own.
You've got
so
that,
we've
you've got
already- we
enough air
already have
packs? Okay.
that. Yes, sir.
So we probably need to be looking to setting aside 42 sets of turnout gear in the near future.
Something
I'm sure.
of that. And we've certainly talked to city staff about that already.
And I also hope that what you're asking moving forward with this, and maybe this would be the way to start with these 42 sets, is that we actually start rolling this into the operating budget for the fire department and stop relying on ATL for this, because that's not what that's for. So if we can start working towards finding, the $300,000 or $400,000 a year or whatever it turns out to be with that life cycle for the turnout gear, to make sure that we're getting this turnout gear recycled for these guys. It's an important barrier to protect them. And we need to make sure we're prepared for that, and we're not using one-time funds because it's a continual purchase. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this did go to Finance Committee, and we reviewed it today with myself and Councilmember Wilder. We're very appreciative for the grant. This is certainly a competitive one that will set us apart from a lot of our competitors for the EMS industry and especially the fire service. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing Station 9, maybe 71, we'll find out. But nevertheless, I'm very pleased to see this come to us, and the Finance Committee did approve it. And that is my motion.
Thank you. It does not require a second. Any further discussion for anyone?
Just want to thank Chris for my email. That's all.
I will say earlier, so I meant, I wish it was only 4,000, meaning it's expensive to do what they need to do. So we're thrilled for the $4 million grant, because it is extremely expensive these days to staff and to outfit our fire departments appropriately. You would not believe the cost of engines and equipment, and most importantly, the people that take care of our city. And we're so grateful for all of your men and women, all of them that help every day. And so we're so thrilled about these 21 that we will have to add to our city, that will be taking care of our families and citizens and visitors and everybody, everything that we'll be doing. So this is just a gift, and we're so thrilled about it. And we know that it will be used wisely. So thank you. With that said, do you have something? Councilman Helgeson?
Just wanted to say, I know you presented this a meeting ago when you got the grant, and that's exciting. It's exciting to see how, as our city is growing, over these last 20 years, I know for a long time, talking with previous fire chiefs and whatnot, where the city was devoting most of their resources to education, where we had declining enrollments. The fire department, emergency, the firefighters, with an increased population that's being served, we need more. I'm glad you got this grant. I'm glad that we can actually open up that, hopefully Station 71. I do like that, Councilmember Mischens. I know Dr. Falwell would appreciate that as well, since everything over there is 71. With that, seeing the growth over there and how we need another fire station, how we need more folks. And so having 21 new people that can actually serve 24-hour-a-day shifts. So you're basically looking at, less than 7, I imagine, in order to get a fully staffed shift. I think we've also got some grants or things in the works, or capital with regarding the fire engines that have been now, and the building that is going to be done through the public-private partnership, and that's going to be up and running. And you'll have the folks trained, and so our citizens can continue to have good safety, which helps our ISO certifications, which helps to keep insurance premiums down. And again, thank you, and this is exciting.
Let's go ahead and vote. Councilman Mischens?
I just want to thank you, because I know also you guys, took a shot at it last year. I want to thank you for not quitting and coming back. And I know the city manager was a big part of that. He and I have had that conversation. This is important that we get this done. And something that wasn't mentioned is the safety factor, right? The more firefighters that we have, the safer it is for our firefighters when they're actually fighting fires. That is hands down what it is. We have, and what Councilmember Helgeson said, he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. All you got to do is go back and look at the budgets. Go back to the 2009, 2010. You know what? It's Fifth Street roundabout to me. I know a lot of people they have their thoughts about that Fifth Street roundabout. I remember when Councilmember Helgeson said we shouldn't put that roundabout there. And the reason he said that is because it was the same dollar amount that it cost to furlough every city employee. And this city, this government, has a history of doing things like that, where they spend, right? And then the things that really matter, the people that show up when you don't have anybody else to call but 911, they get left behind. And I appreciate all the work you've done in the last 2 years, light years ahead. I want you to come and ask us for whatever you need. I want Chief Zuderman to come and ask us for whatever he needs. And Winter, you may not like this, but even if Winter tells you no, I still want you to come and ask us for what you need. That's what it is. I mean, absolutely paramount. There's nothing more important than the safety of our citizens. And equal to that is the safety of our first responders. So thank you for doing this.
Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Helgeson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischens?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. Consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2025 city, federal, state aid fund budget and appropriating $95,000 to expand substance abuse treatment capacity in the Lynchburg Drug Court. This item went to our Finance Committee earlier today, and I will defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Feraldi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And it is, there is an effort to reposition this as recovery court. So we're trying to make a change to that presentation. If you want to come up briefly and share what this will be about, since you're here and you've been with us this whole time. Thank
This
you.
isn't my item, even though I am the program director.
I'm
This is
sorry.
actually Ms. Brown's item, that's why she's here.
Would you like to offer anything about this new service?
So I've been.
I'll go I'm working all the way across the room.
I have been handling this from the beginning. Ms. Brown came on with us in April, I believe it was, and this was already in the works. So I have been collaborating with her. Horizon Behavioral Health received a grant from the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration to provide additional support to we call it both drug and recovery court because the grant refers to it as drug court, but we are trying to change the image here in Lynchburg by referring to it as recovery court. And the grant provides for 3 different things. The main thing that concerns us is that it provides an additional position in our community corrections department for probation officer to support and supervise participants in the recovery court, and they will be designated to do just that. The other 2 things that it provides that are not our concern, but it is covered in the grant, is an extensive evaluation process, as well as housing for participants in the recovery court process. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much.
As I said, Madam Mayor, it did go to Finance Committee and it was approved by myself and Councilmember Wilder. So
Wonderful.
that's my motion.
Thank you. This item does not require a second. Any discussion? Councilman Helgeson?
Just a comment, and Donna, I know you always have, for years, anytime there was a grant-funded position, it's actually titled as a grant-funded position. So when those grants run out, it's not just backfilled. I think we're probably gonna, I think the school system has been discovering that some of those grant-funded positions, when the grants ran out, they just backfilled them. And we haven't done that, have we?
No, and at the Finance Committee meeting today, Holly made the point that it would be advertised as a grant position. I believe it's a 5-year grant, and that if it's not renewed, the position ends.
And so thank you for always sharing that, and hopefully our folks across the street will be doing that now, because there's been lots of grant-funded positions. Once the grant ran out, it's like, well, let's figure out where you can be moved to. So thank you all.
Anything further? I think this is great, and I like the change in name because it's hopeful, and I think that's a good message to send. So let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Helgeson? Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2025 city, federal, state aid fund budget and appropriating $45,266 for support of the drug recovery court docket by enhancing testing. This item went to our Finance Committee earlier today, and I will defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Feraldi.
All right, who had this one? That one was you. Sorry about that.
I apologize, I'm sorry. I worked on both of these, but this is the one that I'm here.
No apology
Yes, sir.
needed. That was my fault. Thank you. Please.
Yes, sir. So thank you for letting me be here today. I would like to say the previous item on the agenda, we are very excited about that. The founder of the recovery court, retired Judge Burnett, did call me to express his congratulations. So I just wanted to pass it along to you. Of course, we couldn't do it without you all. So thank you. But for the reason that I'm here today, yes, the Supreme Court of Virginia offered all of the recovery courts in the state the opportunity to apply for a drug testing grant that will help us to partner with a leader in the drug testing industry to drastically increase our drug testing so that we are in compliance with the updated best practice standard from the Supreme Court. So we hope these funds will help us to continue to do that. We have completely revamped our drug testing process, and we hope that with this new probation officer, we will be right on track with the Supreme Court's requirements.
And Madam Mayor, as you did say, it did go to Finance Committee and it was approved as such. And that is my motion.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Does not require a second. Is there any discussion? No? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Helgeson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2025 city, federal, state aid fund budget and appropriating $500,000 to enhance the criminal justice response to sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking in the city of Lynchburg. This item went to our finance committee earlier today, and I will defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Farrelly.
Since I royally goofed that one up, who had this one? Bethany, if you would like to speak to this, please feel free, but as you're coming up, this did go to our finance committee. It was presented there, and we did give it our approval, so that is my motion.
Okay, great. And there's no second, but please go ahead.
Okay, Bethany Harrison, Commonwealth Attorney for the City of Lynchburg, and I have Donna Nash, who knows about this grant inside and out here. She wrote it, but I think it is succinctly summarized here, and even more vital than ever, given that we just had our domestic violence vigil, where we honored the lives of 6 women who have lost their lives to intimate partner violence since 2020, 5 of which since 2023. So while this will not be the panacea, the cure-all, but it is working towards proactive measures to help in those high-risk domestic violence cases. It funds partially some positions in our office. So when you think about the General Assembly, as many of you know, when they pass misdemeanors right and left, there's never any funding locally for that, but this helps fund those positions to prosecute those misdemeanors that greatly impact public safety, such as domestic violence, stalking, sexual battery, things of that nature. So I would ask that you pass this resolution. There's no match. It is funds from the U.S. Department of Justice to help us fight domestic violence.
Thank you so much.
Madam Mayor, I renew my motion.
Yeah, thank you. And no second is required. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Helgeson?
Just, I guess, one thing that you didn't state, that this grant is going to be utilized over the next 3 years.
Yes.
It's not just hiring one person 1 year, it's
It's a 3-year grant.
3-year grant. Thank you.
I'll just say I do appreciate the vigil from the other night, and I think this is, great timing for us to get to approve this in response to that, because we've had, several losses of life locally, young women that have died because of domestic violence. And so I think we understand the need to further funding and so that your office can help prosecute. So I think we definitely need to vote on it.
Just one last thing, if I may, and I do thank you, Donna. I mean, as she has been writing these grants for over 20 years that I've seen, so keep it up. Good job. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So needed. Appreciate it. Let's vote.
Councilmember
Madam
Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Helgeson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Water?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Farrelly?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes,
The motion passes 7-0.
thank you so much.
Can I ask Bethany a question real quick? Because I was trying to get the floor. You never gave me the floor.
Because I called the vote. Go ahead.
How much do you think this is going to impact? Like, is there a certain amount of cases that you guys aren't able to handle? Do you have an idea of what capacity this is going to provide for you? I mean, any idea?
Well, with the positions that we currently have, we actually have a domestic violence team of 4 prosecutors, and I myself will also step in and take some of these cases. So right now, this helps us maintain that team
Got it.
where it is an appropriate number of people to handle the caseload that we have.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you. Consideration of adopting an ordinance amending Lynchburg City Code Section 2-16.1 to align the city council salaries to the city's present payments and practices. Option B. This item was tabled at the October 8th, 2024 city council meeting for consideration tonight. May I have a motion?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Vice Mayor Farrelly?
No further comments.
Councilman Dolan? Okay, any discussion? Councilman Helgeson?
Thank you. I guess it looks like there's no option for option A on here, correct?
Correct.
With this, it is a little disconcerting, but decisions that are made by this body should not be decisions that we're making and voting on that are for us, whether it be for us or against us. And so normally when we make decisions and votes, we typically recognize and pull ourselves outside of the impact and say, well, this really is for the good of the whole city. This is for the good of folks who are going to go on before us. And it's not for political purposes. It's not for posturing. It's not for anything like that, but it's about the good of the city by removing ourselves. Normally what we do when we vote on issues that we are impacted, that we're involved, or we are something and we can't set it aside and use our own judgment, what we do is say, because I can't vote impartially on this matter, I abstain. And I guess the last meeting where I heard this, where I was party where we had this discussion, I heard the vice mayor saying that he can't in good conscience vote for his own pay raise. Normally that is something that isn't just about the individual, it is about the office. And if you can't vote on something impartially because it affects you, whether it be for you or against you, normally you would abstain if you can't make a good judgment by removing yourself. But I kept hearing that, oh, this is about voting for my own pay raise, and it really shouldn't be, because any votes that we should make shouldn't be about, does this help me? Is this a client? Is this give me more, give me less? Is it anything like that? But it should be about what's for the good of the city. Sadly, we're now punted to the side for folks that are coming after me and other wards. When we're looking at the council pay amount, it is surprisingly extremely low. It's been about the same for the 20 years that I've been here. And it's currently 10,000, and that's what it's going to remain. Meanwhile, other jurisdictions that had difficulty, and they recognize that this is not just you show up and read some info and vote, but you actually get involved. We should pay people a little bit more. And so with that, I'm sad to see that you've somehow just punted to side what was just something that was reasonable, which is still probably about a third of Charlottesville, a fourth of Roanoke. And I think that would have been prudent. I think that would have been wise to go with option A as a bare minimum. Having $14,000 a year for folks, this isn't supposed to be an aristocratic position, but this is supposed to be about people that actually can represent citizens. With that, they should have some level of pay. I voted on this anytime this has been discussed objectively. The good thing is I can talk even more about it now because it doesn't affect me. But I think anybody who openly admits that they can't make a rational, or not rational, but they can't make a impartial decision because it affects them, they should have just abstained. Is there, I guess the last meeting that it was tabled indefinitely, option A? Mr. City Attorney, is that the?
Yes.
So with that, the only way that it could come off of the table is for somebody on the prevailing side to review it, to bring it back. Okay. Since I wasn't there and didn't vote on that, I can't make a motion to bring that back up, but I think that would be prudent and wise. Again, I'm leaving, but I think this isn't about me. This isn't about the 7 of us up here. This should be about having, just a minute ago or an hour ago now, we voted on the first quarter adjustments. Those first quarter adjustments had hundreds of thousands of dollars in there regarding pay increases, whether it be for the Commonwealth Attorney, whether it be for the treasurer, whether it be for the sheriff's department. There was lots of raises on there. And with that, I just think it would have been prudent for you to set aside your personal, whether you're for it or against it, but to look objectively for the good of the whole. So I won't be voting in favor of this motion that takes it from the 14,000 that it's supposed to be per the city code, and lowers it to 10,000. And again, not how it impacts me, but how it impacts those in the future.
Anyone else? Council missions?
Read something here. While this action taken by council does not increase the pay of my colleagues, it does signal they are willing to increase their own compensation. I do agree this position does not offer enough compensation for the work. However, I have a fundamental conflict with the representatives voting to increase their own pay. In fact, council voted to increase compensation prior to COVID by 40%, and I would have opposed it then had I been a member. We have firefighters, teachers, police officers, many of whom have seen negligible increases in pay reflected in their paycheck for years, and this council sees it prudent to increase their compensation having this knowledge. I do not see how that is the right message to send our employees. This should be a referendum item voted on by the community if they deem a raise appropriate. I did not express directly my opposition at the meeting, but it was for this principle, and I agree with many of your perspectives as the lone opponent to this matter. I assure you my opposition on this front will not diminish. January 13th, 2021, Chris Feraldi. Those were his words. Now, the difference here is he's not asking for a referendum like you said previously. And this is actually more or less a technical adjustment. It's not a pay increase. It's actually a pay cut. It's a salary cut. We're just not being, our full salary is not being funded. So, you know, if you vote for this, you're voting to cut your pay is what you're doing. But you're voting to cut your pay that you're not getting. That's what's going on here. With that being said, yeah, I'd be curious if there was any interest in actually turning this into a referendum and letting the citizens decide if they want to cut our pay. Because if it was good for you back then, it ought to be good for you now. And I'd be interested in seeing what the citizens say at the ballot box about cutting our pay. And with that, making all council members pay $10,000.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Mr. City Attorney, I would request guidance. According to the logic that was just offered, our salary is quote unquote $14,000 a year. Considering the centers that were adopted earlier this year and the fines associated with them, commensurate to various months of compensation for city council, should we then be appropriating those fines accordingly?
I'm not sure.
If you don't want to answer the question, that's okay.
Well, I'm
The
not
question
sure I
is, if
understand.
our salary was supposedly $14,000 and the fines we imposed on our colleagues for their behavior, should those fines be allocated based on $14,000 or 10?
I would probably suggest that the fines be based on the salary that exists at the time of the fine.
Fair enough. That's all I have to say.
I've got a question on that matter.
For whom?
For the city attorney, based on what Mr. Feraldi just asked.
Okay.
Can you cite the authority in the Code of Virginia to fine council members?
Yes.
What is it?
Okay, let me pull it up.
That's not germane to this conversation, so we can email that.
Well, I mean, it wasn't germane when Chris brought it up, but you didn't say anything to him. And I find it kind of interesting that Chris was able to get this on the agenda over and over and over again when Councilmember Helgeson asked politely meetings ago about getting the Merit Excellence and Opportunity resolution back on the agenda, but that was completely dismissed. So it's pretty clear, you know, if Chris asks for something, he gets what he wants. And then, you know, asks over and over again, he gets what he wants. Jeff asks for something once politely, on deaf ears.
Madam Mayor, I have the citation requested by Councilmember Mischins. It's section 15.2-1400D.
Thank you.
Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
So we're voting the option B, correct?
Yeah, that's ordinance with the pay.
Yes.
Councilmember Higgleson?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
No.
Councilmember Taylor?
No.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Farrelly?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 4-3.
Okay. Consideration of adopting a resolution approving the 2025 legislative agenda. This item was presented to council during our business item briefings on October 8th, 2024. May I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Councilman Taylor?
No.
Okay. Vice Mayor? Okay. Any further discussion? Dr. Wilder?
Just want to note that I do not support all of the items on the request here, particularly the school choice funding, and I also support our electoral school boards. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Dolan?
Yeah, I will be voting no on the package because there are a couple of things that I do not support. The main one being public dollars to support private schools, K through 12. I think this can be significant. There's issues with this, including the potential for segregation and damaging the most vulnerable in our community. By reducing funding to public schools, you're ultimately creating funding inequities between private and public schools. And public schools are here to serve the public, and every child is entitled to a public education. And if we say we support public schools, then we need to support legislation that reflects that. So I will be voting no.
Any other comments? Councilman Mischins?
I'm curious why the language that was used in the school choice funding section didn't mirror the language that was in there last year in the 2024. And I've got that up if you want me to reference that or.
Yes, if you'd like that, I'm pulling it up now.
It's so as written in the 2025 agenda says the city requests legislation and funding to allow localities to fund public and private K-12 schools. I don't think that's really meets. Last year we had the city of Lynchburg supports legislation to promote school choice for parents and children. I don't think we need any more funding. This should be accomplished through legislation that would allow education dollars and or initiatives to follow the child to the public, private, or faith-based school of the parent's choice. The point is that all parents pay taxes for schools.
Would you like to remove the word funding?
I would just like it to mirror exactly what it said last year, where it says the city of Lynchburg supports legislation to promote school choice for parents and children. It should be accomplished through legislation that would allow education dollars and or initiatives to follow the child to the public, private, or faith-based school of the parent's choice. I wouldn't want it to be any different than that. And that's really the only question I have about that. And then the second thing I want to get clarity on is the use of unmanned aircraft systems. This is probably for you. Systems by public bodies, search warrant required. So the city's requesting an update to section CV and section C9 of the Code of Virginia to replace by a law enforcement officer with by an employee of the Department of State Police. So is the request here so that our local law enforcement isn't required to get a search warrant for using the drone? Is that the request?
No. What I
just want to help
think,
understanding that.
what I think law enforcement here is looking for is to take out the requirement that a law enforcement officer be required to operate the drone. That simply an employee that may not be a law enforcement officer would be able to operate the drone.
But has some training.
But it's trained, yes, and licensed to be able to do it.
Okay, got it. All right, that makes sense. That totally clears up what I was wondering about that one.
And Councilman Mischin, certainly you could try to seek consensus with the change you had mentioned about the schools. That may change some of the position of the council members if they so chose.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only change that I'd like to see made is just mirror the same exact language that was in there last year on the school choice funding piece of that.
Yes.
You did. You seconded.
Did you second it?
You seconded. Yeah, he
Who made the motion?
Madam Mayor, if Councilman Taylor is fine with that, I'm amenable to adopting the legislative agenda mirroring last year's language on that item, if Councilman Taylor is as well.
Any further? Councilman Helgeson?
The one that I don't support on here, absolutely, is the support an elected school board. I recognize the difficulty, and lots of times, I remember the politicization of that a few years ago, when our school board, who spent lots of time, lots of effort, they then said there should be some level of stipend, because they were spending a lot of time, a lot of effort on a budget that's $110, $120 million. And they were vilified from this dais. With that being the case, for somebody to run for the school board, especially now when the office got moved from the normal elections that used to be in May, when the May election used to be city council was the top of the ticket. Now it's the very bottom of the ticket on a November election. On November elections, we have the president, we have US Senate, we have Congress, we have a constitutional amendment. You keep on going down the list, you have council, then you will have school board. Then you will have the fact of how the school board has a whole different, there's 3 wards or 3 zones in the school division. There's 4 wards. How are those going to be crossed over? How are you going to have a crossover if you're in Ward 3 for a portion, but you're also Ward 4 for part of your school district, and the zoning for where that each of those 3 school board members must reside? Having an election for the school board is going to make it really far down the list. Again, all of those items on the November election that used to not be there in a May election, it's going to get lost. Clearly appointing, having a city council elected to represent, and they have done appointments. The process is now open and transparent. We're interviewing school board members in the open. Running for the school board, I think, is going to be very difficult. Secondly, you're going to make it extremely difficult for how you actually would implement. Those terms are staggered. Those are 3-year terms. City council are 4-year terms, staggered every 2 years. They're 3-year terms. The difficulty of that and the ballots and I don't think that's going to be a good thing. So I'm voting no against this because I don't think that is a good thing to begin down that process. I know last year it was brought to the General Assembly. Most of the folks in the General Assembly, both sides of the aisle, said this probably isn't a good thing to do, especially at this time. My 2 colleagues here, I think, agree on this one, that probably isn't a good thing. So I'll be voting no for this legislative agenda.
Anyone else? Vice Mayor Foley?
Just for point of reference, the House of Delegates did pass both of the legislative items related to this topic quite overwhelmingly. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
No.
Councilmember Hegelson?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
No.
Councilmember Taylor?
No.
Councilmember Wilder?
No.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion fails 5-2.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be held on November 12th, 2024 at 4 p.m. in Council Chamber.